Here's the Florida State prediction, at least as far as we can see it this year. Here's what you need to know. The over-under win total at FanDuel is 9.5 for Florida State. They got the best odds, as we sit here right now, to win the conference, which they did last year. So the market thinks they may very well repeat. They have got 3 straight top 10 portal classes baked into this roster right now. They got the 10th best odds to win the whole thing this year. So they are heavily favored to not only be an ACC contender, but maybe win the conference, maybe make the playoff. And they tasted it last year. And there's a sour taste in the mouth. How about that? You win the conference, you go undefeated, yet with the way the cookie crumbled, as Meemaw would say, it just made everyone angry down there. I think I know a few things about Florida State. I think I know offensive line can be a strength of this team. Multiple all ACC caliber pieces there. I also think DB is another strength of this team. And there's good young depth there too. Behind the guys who are proven, they got 3 surefire NFL guys, I think, in that secondary. But you got some young cats. Maybe they play this year, maybe they don't play this year. But you know it's not really top heavy. There's a layer of topsoil, but then there's some fertile soil beneath that. That's the way you want a depth chart to look. And I think I know they've got staying power. Sometimes we see teams have a magical season, and then they fail to recapture the magic. I don't think that's Mike Norvell. I don't think that's Florida State. They fooled some people because they leaned on the portal really heavily early on, and people were misguided enough to think, oh, they're just going to be a one-trick pony. They don't really know how to recruit. They're not building a program. They were doing those things the whole time. They just supplemented to get there faster, but they were doing those things the whole time. So it's not an experiment down there. It's a program. It's a really good program, and they locked Mike Norvell up for a long time. So staying power means I think they're going to be in this conversation every year. The big question here is pretty obvious. It's the level of quarterback play that they get. DJ Uiagalelei transferred down there. We had Jonathan Smith on the show last week. Me and Cannell were interviewing him. And then after we got done, we were kind of talking about DJU because that was Jonathan Smith quarterback last year up at Oregon State. And, man, Jonathan Smith couldn't praise him enough. And it wasn't any guarantee that he's going to do anything, but it was just how smart he is, how hardworking he is, how attentive he is, how much he cares about it. Again, does that mean he'll be any better than a 57% completion guy? It does not. But it means he'll maximize whatever he has in him, and he's playing for a staff that I think can maximize whatever he has in him. 14 picks over the last 2 seasons, got to improve on it. Completion percentage, got to improve on it. I think he will. It's just by how much. How good do they backfill at receiver? That's the other thing that kind of goes hand in hand with DJ. Jordan Travis last year had studs to throw to. Keon Coleman's not there anymore. You know, Johnny Wilson's not there anymore. Now, that doesn't mean it's a poor man's roster, but when you look at the next guys up, you probably can't lean on DJU to make them. If you had like Caleb Williams there, he can make receivers. I don't think we're looking at that caliber quarterback. So the names that start to emerge, the go-to guys that start to emerge, it's a big question. There's a lot of young potential. It's just college football. It's not proven yet. The staff overview at Florida State, it's a top 10 coaching staff, top to bottom. That's a big deal. Now, don't overlook that. In the whole country, it's a top 10 coaching staff. And I'm talking about multiple layers. The game day aspect, the recruiting aspect, the development aspect, that's a top 10 coaching staff. Didn't think I'd be saying that a couple of years ago. It's Mike Norvell's offense. Alex Atkins is in there listed as the OC. You would have to convince me that it's not Mike Norvell's offense. It's not him calling him. Adam Fuller there, though, at defensive coordinator, they were top 5 in scoring efficiency last year. You look at his career, and there's some up and down to it, which is to be expected. Let's see if they can be consistent there again this year. Got some good players over there. That's kind of it's a first world problem to have because it's a top 10 staff overall. But that's what I'm paying attention to this year with their coaching staff. The schedule review: Florida State cuts no corners in non-conference play. They got Notre Dame at Notre Dame, by the way. They've got Memphis in week 3. They have got Florida, as they do every year at the end of the season, and they get Clemson, and they get Miami in conference play. So you got it to do. It's not an easy schedule here. However, look at this. If you're listening on podcast, think about how a schedule normally stacks up. It is not like this. Florida State plays North Carolina the 2nd of November, and they're done with conference play. Their last 3 games are out of conference, which is wild. Like, who else plays a schedule like that? It's not a bad thing or a good thing. It's just a weird thing. The best case, worst case, most likely record scenario here. There is a 12-0 in the cards for Florida State. I think there's also a 7-5. If quarterback play is not what it needs to be, if they do regress in their offensive output, defense, if it fluctuates a little bit, it's just 7-5 is worst of worst case. The likely record outcome, I think, for them this year is 10-2, and that's my prediction for them. I got them going 10-2. JP Poll, the model has them at number 9 in the country coming into this season, right behind Ole Miss, right ahead of LSU. You guys can chop that up any which way you want to. But Florida State's right there. And if that quarterback piece pans out, and if those wide receivers develop, and they're maybe above and beyond what you expected them to be, maybe more than just an ACC contender there, maybe more than just contending to be in the playoff.